Hey there, this is John Barton, JB Cases. I'm going to do a real quick review of my Q case that I got from Temu here, or AliExpress or whatever. This is the box they shipped it in. You guys can see that here. This is the, let's see, Billiards Players Home. Whatever. This is the box that it came in right here. And this is, get that out here. This is the case right here. Comes in a box, says Conlon on it. It says focus on superior quality. Well, let's see. It has actually superior quality. So this one I do think that if I remember right, I ordered it from Temu. So let's take a look and see if it's actually superior quality. Well, first of all, it is a, let's see what size case this is. This is a 2x4 case. 2 butts, 4 shafts, and actually feels fairly sturdy here. Let's see, this has a thin strap on the back. It holds up pretty good. This is not non-slip here like ours, so it's just the same material there, sewn on here. Let's see how easy this is to take off, if not. Okay, just curious to see if it tears without any real effort there. So started to tear off already right there, because I want to show you guys something. See how this is put on here? Here, I'll get to the side that's not torn right there. So these are the quality signs that you look for. So see how this is, when you wear it, it's pulling against the thread right there. So that is a mistake that these guys shouldn't be making at this point. But yet they do anyway, because what happens is it just constantly pulls against the thread. So it doesn't take much to pull this off. Here, I'm going to just go up here so you can see that there's not a lot of effort going into this here to pull this. And you can see it's already torn up. So with, it won't take much time before that's completely torn off. Right there. So that's number one. Now let's look at our zipper pulls here. So these look nice, right? Nice metal zipper pulls, everything. On here, these are called zipper sliders actually. Let's see how easy these are to tear off. Ready? Okay, so hopefully you can understand that I'm really trying not to I'm putting just as much effort as it takes. I'm not trying to crank it super hard. I'm just trying to feel it. So that was it. That's how that broke right there. That's how weak that piece is right there. And it just came right off here. Let's see if I can actually break it. So there we go. It broke right off. You guys can see that. If you can't really, that's kind of like zinc or something in there. It's like the particle board of metal, if you will. I mean, if you're going to make a zipper pull, this is the part right here. This is the part right here that needs to be super strong, right? Because these are the ones that get pulled on and tugged on the most. And so that's what's going to happen right there after. It won't take very long before that happens. All right, well, so we see that. And obviously you've got the same thing on all of these. So let's see what's going on here. So we got a pocket here. I mean, this appears halfway decent, I guess. So without knowing the sewing quality here, it'd be hard to know. It'd be hard to know, how much effort was put in here on the sewing quality to know how long that will last. But the zipper pulls here probably are not going to last very long. All right, let's look here. What do we got here? Okay, so this is how we get into the pocket right here. So number one, this is like, you gotta like look inside of there to see it. So the zipper should go all the way around, but it doesn't. And we come over to this side, this is gonna be the jump cue part. This is a piece of thin fabric right there. This also is going to easily tear out. Watch this. Just to show you how easy it is. So that won't take much before that's all torn up inside there. Not offering a lot of protection. But actually, you know what, better than a lot of the cheap cases that I've seen, but not much better. This is also gonna, see how this is catching right here already? So that's already catching right there. If you push in a little bit, it's catching on that fabric, so that's gonna catch that zipper, mess that up. All right, what do we got here? Also, this stuff here, that stuff there likes to catch on things and tear. But you know, it's not too bad right there. I mean, for 80 bucks, it's okay. Let's see here. This one's a good one. This is actually not bad as far as comfort goes. A little bit small right there. They really love to brand their stuff though. Look, just in case you forget the brand on the case, you've got it here on the side, right? You got it here on the pocket. Then you've got, let's see, is there anywhere else on here? Well, you got those two big ones, and then you got some weird star thingy going on here. Now this is probably like a screen print or something like that. Let's see here. Let's see how scratchy it is. How it holds up to being scratched or anything. So this is not very hard, okay? Here, I'll try to do it with like 2 fingers so you guys can see it. Ready? I'm not putting a lot of pressure on there, but you can see that it's kind of flaking off. So, and you know, this may last a while. You know, screen printing's been around forever, so it's not like, you know, there's probably a lot of things you could scratch and you could see. Like even our stuff, if we put it on there, if we did screen printing on there, you could probably scratch it off. So I'm not making that particularly a negative. It's just that sometimes when I've seen people do this stuff, they don't necessarily do a good job and this starts peeling off quickly. So I would be skeptical of how well it would be done with a $80 case, you know. All right, they do have at the bottom, they have this little piece right here, which is kind of standard on a lot of backpacks. So that'll offer the bottom a little bit more protection. All right, what else? Got a big grip on here. You know, it's from appearance, you know, it's a little bit big on there for that, but I mean, not bad, you know, for a case of this size. They have basically a piece of foam rubber in here, a rectangular piece, kind of a square shape. So it's not super ergonomically friendly, but it's not uncomfortable either. Like a lot of these cheap cases, I see them, they're actually uncomfortable. This isn't too bad, but let's see what happens on the inside here. Okay, here, let me check the bottom real quick and see if this will tear off easy or not. Ready? So we're going to try this. Let's see how that works. Oop, that was the end of that. So that was the end of that piece right there, at least as far as being sewn to the body. Now it is sewn into the seam right here, so you know that may or may not be good, but let's say that it tears off, right? Oh, there we go. So see how easy that tears up? Now what do we got? Now we have a hole in the bottom, right? Well, how easy can I tear that off? You shouldn't be able to do this with your bare hands, people. I mean, that's really what it comes down to for me. You know, you shouldn't be able to do that. So now, let's look at kind of a moment of truth moment and see what we have in here. So the cue goes inside. So I'm gonna pause this real quick and I want to show you something. So, what a stupid statement, right? The cue goes inside of a cue case. Duh. All right, so I'm going to show you guys something here. And I'm going to pull a case down that's comparable. So this is our case, right? This is comparable. But there's a couple things I want to show you here that is important. The reason I'm doing this is because I came across a review where a guy buys this case and he's like, I love the case, it's great. For 80 bucks, it's awesome. I would recommend this to anyone. And this is the part that caught my attention the most. He goes, in my opinion, he says, this case is the equivalent or better than the cases out there that are $250 in the $250 to $300 range. Right? I think he might have said 250 to 300. I don't know. I'm not pulling up the the post right now to look at it exactly what he said, but he said I know for sure he said 250. So this case right here is about 280-ish. It's a 2x5, by the way. So you actually get an extra Q inside or an extra shaft, 2x5 or 3x4. So the Q goes inside, right? Now you can see how the Q stops right there, and you push it down and it stays where you put it. Now that might do that, what I just did right here, because a lot of times what these guys do is they'll have padding up here at the top like we do to make it seem like it's really protective, but then after about 6 inches or so, or more or less where a normal person can reach their hand into it, beyond that point where you can't feel it, then it becomes like a thin nylon, or basically they take the padding away. So we don't do that. But the reason that we put padding in here the way we do, and we put padding at the bottom, and we have padding all the way down, but we have a double layer here, a double layer here, and single layer all the way through the center, is to arrest Q movement, make sure that Qs can't move this way, they can't move this way. You know, they're basically, every part is protected from every other part. But this is where it gets important, where what I'm going to show you makes sense. Pull this out real quick. All right. So we build this with a removable interior that is double padded right here. So that's, if I push this up, you'll see it's right here. That's a double layer of padding. Then we have a single layer of padding going all the way down. This is a fully enclosed piece. So this in and of itself is a bag by itself, right? We have super strong Velcro on the bottom. Obviously, we also have the same fabric on the outside as the inside of it. And this basically operates kind of like a cassette system. So it slips in and meshes perfectly with the body. Now, to that end, we make the bottom super strong right here, so that the act of putting the Q inside of it. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the Q inside without this inside so you can hear it. Okay? So do you hear that, how it kind of bounces against the bottom there? Now the bottom of this on the inside has EVA foam rubber. Think of flip-flops, like flip-flops. There's EVA foam rubber in there. This is glued and nailed in with barbed nails to keep it from moving. So even without the interior in there, you could pretty much throw this and have very little chance of damaging the bottom. Okay, now I don't want you to do that, because you could, obviously with enough force, you could move the bottom. But when you put it in with our interior, now you have no chance of generating enough force, either by normal use or through deliberation, by just inserting it, you know, unless you manufacture a way to do this with extra effort that is well beyond normal use. You have no way of impacting the bottom of this case to the point where you're going to hurt the integrity of this bottom, because you don't want it to come off, right? The last thing you want is your cues to come out or anything to be impacting the bottom of the case. You want the whole thing to stay intact. That's why I called this the rugged model, because it's super durable. Okay, so You can find a video online where I just let strangers try to tear this off right here. So a moment ago we talked about how durable these parts are right here. But it extends to the whole case. That's our whole ethos, is we want the cases to be super durable, super rugged, and never break from normal use. And we don't build things for planned obsolescence. You know, we don't build cheap things just so that that we know are going to break and we know that they're throwaway stuff. We don't do that. That's why we give a lifetime warranty on our products. So now let me show you where that matters, because of how this case is built, right? So you saw me just tear this up with my bare hands, but now let's look at the bottom. Now I haven't opened it, so at this moment right now I don't know what I'm going to find in here, but I have an idea of what I'm going to find. So the first thing we find is we find a piece of foam rubber. Now this is EVA, it's good foam rubber, it's closed cell density, but that's it. So that is directly up against this piece right here. So it means every time that your cue goes in, it is going to be pushing against the threads that make up this bottom. Now, not only that, the bottom itself is going to be getting torn up, because even though you've got this little piece right there, that little piece does not protect the perimeter of this at all. So the only thing holding this together is this fabric and the threads. And every time you toss your cue in there, every time you set it down, every time your cue bounces, it's just pushing against those threads a little more and a little more until something finally gives way. All right, so it is as I expected in here. Let's show you. I haven't put a cue in this yet, but I want to show you the difference between the top of the case, the part that you can see and feel. Remember, you can't take the interior out of this. So this is the part you can see and feel. Let's take a look here. That looks decent, right? You got some padding in there, you know, it feels good. Reach inside, oh, that feels good, right? I got some padding, right? Feels nice and secure. Now watch this. We're gonna put the cue in. Oh, it's already slipping down, so it's not as good as ours is right there. But there is padding right there at the top of the case. So right here, approximately the same place that we put it, there's padding. Now they do that because they want to fool you. They want you to look at that and conclude that this is similar to ours. I invented this interior. Okay? Me, John Barton, JB Cases, I invented this interior. Nobody else before me had done an interior in a tube case like this. So this is not this one, but the one I do is the one we do is my invention. Now, of course, as with anything that becomes popular, there's going to be knockoffs. There's going to be copies. You know, that's the way of the world. I don't fault these guys for knocking us off. You know, they got to eat too. But where I fault them is because they deliberately, instead of knocking us off and building interiors like we build them, which would actually be protective and cost a lot more to make, the interior alone costs more to make than this entire case does for a JB interior. But instead of doing that, they're only going to do enough to defraud you as a consumer and fool you into thinking that the case is well padded. Okay, now keep in mind, I haven't shown you the bottom yet, right? You saw me tear it apart on camera. Until this moment, until I pulled it out of that big ass, let's not even talk about this, you know, what the hell this is. You know, I guess I should thank him. It's probably like something my cat would like to play in. But you know, from an environmental standpoint or whatever, you know, it's kind of freakishly silly to send this case in that big ass box. So, you know, this is what the world's coming to, I guess. Anyway, let's take a look again. See that? Looks nice padded, right? Not bad. Now, let's look at this one. So you might conclude by looking at that they're kind of similar, right? In the sense that both of them have padding. So you'd say, oh, well, JB Case has padding, Crical has padding, Conlin has padding, whatever brand they're slapping on it today has padding. So why do I need to spend $250 on a JB Case when I can buy this thing for $250, right? I mean, that's a fair conclusion for someone who doesn't build cases. But here's where it gets me. When someone goes online, right, and in good faith, right, in good faith, they're not trying to hurt anybody or anything. They're just giving their review. They say, oh, I'm really happy with the case. It's holding my cues. It's great. I don't understand what the difference is. I think it's just as good as a case for $250, whatever. Well, a cheap little car is going to get you where you need to go for a while, right? But the fact is that there are no shortcuts to quality. There just isn't, right? I've thought of don't you guys think that I've thought of every single way that I possibly can to get the price of my cases down so that I can sell more of them? That's what I really want to do. I have an easy formula. I'm not going to share it with you, but I have an easy formula that basically is cost plus X equals sales price. So if my cost goes up by a little bit, then my sales price goes up by a little bit. If my cost goes down, my sales price goes down. The way the world is, costs never seem to go down. So, but when I first started selling these cases, these JB cases, the very first generation of them, I priced them at $100. And I was shipping them from our shop in China, and they were $80 in shipping. And for $180, they were still better than anything in the same comparable price category. And then as time went on, we ended up spending more and more. We improved the build. It takes more time to build them. We added more quality. And now the cases are like around $280 retail for that. But inside of that is built in the shipping cost to get them here. So that still hasn't changed. We still spend $50 to $80 depending on the time of year or the whatever's going on in the world to ship the cases here. So the shipping cost is a big part of the cost of the case. Without that, I could drop it down a lot more, but on average, that's our price. So anyway, continuing on, we can all agree though that for someone who doesn't know anything about case building or anything like that, just a regular old guy, regular consumer, that looks decent, right? That looks decent, feels decent. Now you'll notice that the cue didn't stop right there, right? So when I put mine in, it stops. Now, this may seem to you guys that I'm being a little bit, I'm being a little bit overboard here, but look at what's going on. See how it just stops right there? See that? And you have to deliberately push it down. I'm going to use my pinky finger and do it. See what I'm doing? That's how easy it is. Now I'm going to take it out. 2 fingers. That's engineering. That is trial and error. That is trying different thicknesses of foam rubber, different placements of foam rubber, different tensions to get to exactly this behavior of the case to make it that protective, okay? Now, so that's important because it's important to know that if you see padding like this, that it actually does protect like it's supposed to protect, okay? So your cue inside of a JB case is actually held like this so that when you hit a pothole, it goes like this, right? When you brake suddenly, it goes like this in the whole case together, right? It all moves together. Turn it upside down, nothing moves. Shake it, nothing moves. Shake it harder, it moves a little bit, but it doesn't fall out. So that's what extra superior protection looks and feels like. So now let's go back to this cheap knockoff style, and I'm going to call it a cheap knockoff because that's what it is. You can obviously see that it has a similar style to ours, similar look, with the pockets, the way it's all set up and everything. But now keep in mind, these guys, they want to build these cheap, right? They want to build them as cheap as possible because they want to make as much profit as they can off of it with a low sales price point, so that they can sell millions of them. Okay? We make 4,000 cases a year. These guys make hundreds of thousands of cases a year, if not millions, depending on the price point. So anyway, let's go back in. You'll see it's falling out. I'm going to back up a little bit so you can really see this. Watch. I'm going to let it go. There it went, right through the bottom. So, of course it went through the bottom because I tore up the bottom. Sorry, I can't bend down, hurt my back. So. Thank you. So, let's see why that's important. Okay, so now I'm going to put it in, and I'm actually going to put this in upside down because that's the way a lot of people put them in to cases when they don't know any better on here. And I want you to hear something. Listen up. Here, I'm going to try to put this zipper in here, and I'm going to try to reduce the amount of sound that you hear when I do this. All right, so now we're going to close this part here. I want you to listen. This is with one cue inside. So what you hear is, you hear the sound of this cue literally traveling this much and beating against the side of this. Now, if there were other cues in here, they would be beating against each other, these parts. That means every single pothole that you hit, every bump in the road that you hit when you're driving, your cues are clattering against each other. Now, this is the part right here where it's even, this is the part right here where it's even worse, where they don't even realize what they did by cheating you, okay? When they add padding to the top, when they take it away from here on down and they make it thin nylon like you see right here, when they make it into thin nylon or thin fabric, that is paper thin. Now, those of you that follow me, you know that I've done this many times and I've shown this many times. And I had no idea, I should say, I had no foreknowledge that that's how this was made. I only suspected it because of all the times that I have done this. And so therefore you can see, I've suspected that it was probably like that, but I didn't know, you know? Like, honestly, if they had done a good job on there, then that would have sucked for me, but they didn't. So now you imagine these are, every time you do that, these cues are banging against each other. Well, cues are not made to take lateral stress like that. They're not made to bang. So here's what happens. If you hold something here like this, if you hold it here, then you end up with a clattering effect. It actually amplifies the force right there. So it's not like all of them are together bouncing up and down. It's not like that's what's happening. Instead, what they've done is they've created like a clothespin effect. So every time that you hit a pothole, it's like that. They're all clattering against each other with even more force, even more vibration is happening in there because you're holding it at one end. You guys can do this yourself. Get some pencils or whatever you want and hold them at one end and then watch how they clatter against each other. So they've actually taken something that was meant to be protective and made it even less protective, even more dangerous by their shitty construction, by their deliberately misleading construction, by their fraudulent construction. This is literally a fraud on everyone. This is literally a fraud on everyone who buys one of these cases, okay? Because if you buy this case and you have a cue that you value, if you have a cue that's special to you, a cue that you've saved up for maybe, or a cue that you inherited, or, you know, something like that, this case right here, this case is actually going to cause damage to your cue in some way or other, right? It is going to be not protecting it from internal structural damage because of the fact that they use thin nylon in here. Now I could take the case apart. Here, let's see. Let's see if I can take this off real quick. By the way, it takes literally three strong farmers to put the skin of the case onto the tube. That's how tight we make it. That gives you an additional layer of protection because it adds strength to the tube. So let's see if I can take this off by myself.
So it is a double giver, and there is a third between like the rest.
Oh, there it is. That's how easy it is to take it off. Okay, that was how easy it was to take that off. Now, here, just toss that over there. Now, some of you might say, oh, it's $80. What do you expect? Of course it's cheap. Yeah, but it should still be at least somewhat protective and not actually dangerous. This is another thing right here. You see that little bit of tape that's on there? So what's going to happen there is that this is all going to start coming out. So eventually, that's just going to pull away from the tape right there when the glue gives way on that tiny little bit of tape on there. This is not protected from the edges of the tube, so that's going to tear up. Okay, but let's look down here.
Yeah, you can definitely close it.
And here, let's pull this out.
Yeah. 1 second. Is this your cell phone number? Gotcha. I will shoot you a text just so that I can get your email correct. Let me write down your phone number real quick. 1 second.
So, this actually has more tape on the bottom than the top.
All right. I will send you a text here shortly to get your email, and then I'll send you the link and the dimensions of the interior of it.
All right, so here we go.
Oh, yeah, gotcha. All right, I can do that for you. All right, sounds good. I'll do that.
So now let's see what we've got here. This is the actual protection, or lack thereof, that's in the case. This is it. That's what's protecting or not protecting your cues in this Crical case. Crical, Conlin, J Flowers, whatever you want to call it. That is what is protecting your cue, or not protecting your cue. So that is what is not protecting your cue. You can see how they fool you by putting some foam rubber. By the way, this is fairly cheap foam rubber on here. This is going to disintegrate. But let's take a look here and see if we can, let's see if this will even come off. Okay, so that's not bad right there as far as it being sewn, but that's normal. Oh, there we go. See how easy that is? I shouldn't be able to tear these things up that easily with my bare hands. But you can see here how they fool you. See, they put foam rubber down there. Look, if this was up here at the top where it's normally folded, see how when you put your hands in there, look how far my fingers can go. See how far my fingers can go right there? And then they would be stopped by the tube right here. That's it. So I can't get my fingers below that point. Now look what's below that point. This. So that's what you're actually buying when you buy this cheap case like this. So that's it right there. This for me is the bottom line. This is the heart of a pool cue case, right? If a pool cue case does not protect your cues adequately, and I'm not saying they have to have as much padding as we have, but this is completely inadequate. And as a matter of fact, it's so inadequate that it is deliberately dangerous, or it is maliciously dangerous. It's not even maliciously dangerous. It's just the fact that they don't know and they don't care enough to know that it's even that it's dangerous to pool cues, right? So it's negligently dangerous. I don't want to say malicious. I don't want to say they're sitting around having meetings going, how can we make cases worse? But they are sitting around having meetings going, how can we make cases cheaper? How can we make people believe that they're protective with padding while not actually delivering the protection? So there you go. That is my review of the Crical case that I purchased directly from Temu. You can get them from Alibaba, AliExpress, probably Shine, probably who knows what. You can probably even buy them from dealers in America for all I know. But all of these brands, they only exist to take your money by selling as many cheap cases as they can with zero care at all whether your cues get damaged or not. So the two problems I have with this are consumers obviously don't know about that, but the problems that I have are consumers recommending these to other consumers when they have zero knowledge themselves of how they're actually built, and making comparisons to our cases when they have no idea how either our cases are built or how these cheap cases are built. And they're basically saying to you, I vouch for this cheap case, without actually taking responsibility for any damage to your cues. So that's like super easy, right? I can go on and I can vouch for anything as long as I don't have to ever take responsibility for it, right? So think about that next time that you see somebody recommending cheap ass cases and they're telling you that these are just as good as cases that actually have an established reputation. Like us, we have 17 years of building high-end cue cases that are super protective. So I often like to tell people that we will build extremely good protection for your cues and then put as much pretty around that as you want to. So I'll build a durable case around that protection. I'll build the wackiest case around that protection that you want. Whatever you want that expresses your character and your desire, whatever it is, I can build that around our core of protection. So no matter what style of case you get from us, your cues are going to be extremely well protected. Just like any other sensitive gear in any other industry, any other hobby, they go in padded, form-fitted cases if you want the best protection for them. And I felt like cue cases should be no different. And as a matter of fact, when you buy a JB case, they are no different. They are well padded all the way down, and they protect your gear like it should be protected. So don't be fooled by these cheap knockoffs. Like I said, these guys can build knockoffs. They got to eat, right? One factory worker over there told me, I said, why do you build these cheap knockoffs? He said, well, it's actually the American companies that come over and tell me what to build, and then they give me a price, and what am I supposed to do? I got to feed 80 people who work in my factory. Fair enough, right? But now these factories are actually putting it out themselves, and they haven't taken it upon themselves to change and be better. So, you could blame it on the buyer, the importer, just trying to get in cheap with a lookalike. But now it's the factories themselves that are putting out crap. And They have access to my videos. They know exactly what I say. Some of these factories I even worked with. Some of them I even went into their factories and pretty much lived there. And then they decided they were still not going to do the level of quality that I taught them to do. So actually, if we wanted to say that's malicious, I would say that's kind of malicious right there. But I'll be generous and just say that they're just trying to turn a meager profit or a bigger profit by fooling you and making you think that there's protection. I don't care how it got done. I don't care whether it was malicious or negligent. But if somebody does this, where they show you padding here, and then they give you this at the part that you can't see or feel, then that's just wrong. No matter how you look at it. If you spent $80 on this, then you basically lost $80. Because you got a container that will hold your cues, but you also got one that is actively harming your cues. So you think about it, right? When you get a buzz or a vibration or something in your cue and you don't know where it came from, now you know where it probably came from. So there you go. There's my review of the Crical, Conlin, J Flowers. These are all brands from the same people. J Flowers. What's the other one they do? Conlin. I don't know. I think there's another brand that they have. But basically these are brands that are out there. But they also make cases for other people under other brands. Acme, for example. As far as I know, the same company made cases for them. They may not make all the cases for them. I don't know. So Acme, if you want to come and sue me, I know for a fact that this company made cases for you. I don't know if they still do, but I do know that your cases are just as shit. So no matter where they're being made, they are in the same category as these cheap knockoffs. The only difference is that you are actively ripping people off to a much higher degree, in my opinion. Right? Let me make sure I put that in there. In my opinion, the cheap knockoffs that you get off Temu and everything are ripping customers off, in my opinion. But even more egregious, in my opinion, are the importers, like the guy that does the Acme cases, trying to sell those for like $200 and knowing that those cases are really not any better quality than these cases, probably about the same cost, in my opinion, my guess. And using marketing to make people believe that they're actually better than they are when they're not. So that's a whole other can of worms. You can find me talking about them in other videos. And by the way, Acme, even though I said my opinion, it is my opinion. It is my expert opinion, by the way. I welcome a lawsuit. If you think that I've said anything wrong about your cases, about your product that you're putting out there, please sue me. Please. Right? I will be happy to entertain a lawsuit from you so that we can go to court and we can have discovery and we can get in front of a judge or a jury or somebody and we can have evidence in the record. And I would love that. Okay? I will pay for scientific tests. I'll pay for laboratory tests, for comparisons, everything. I've got plenty of your cases to use as evidence. And I can buy them anytime. I have people buy them, so I do my homework and I do my research. So if you decide that you want to sue me, or any of you other brands out there making these cheap ass knockoffs, if you decide you want to sue me, go right ahead. Because in 30 years, the whole reason that I've been making cases is to provide better protection for pool cues in these type of cases. And to that end, not only have we created what is easily the industry leading interior. Our interior is used by a lot of high-end case makers who do beautiful work. They use our interiors because then they don't have to worry about the protection for the cues that are going to go in those cases. But I have 30 years experience in this business, only making cue cases. So if you guys want to go to court with me, let's fucking go. John Barton, JB Cases, have a good day.